How does each type of spiritual experience work? Part 3. The laws of attraction and repulsion. At first sight, the more shamanic experiences, apporting, firewalking and levitation, including walking on water, psychokinesis and poltergeists, spoon bending and weather control, appear to have nothing in common at all. But all are related to the forces of attraction and repulsion, which can vary the extent to which objects are attracted or repelled. From the mystical point of view, all things are made of particles, but their properties depend on how close the particles that formed an aggregate are. A very heavy object has particles that are very close together, so we might say it has particles that are strongly attracted to one another. It may then give the impression of being a solid. But as the force of attraction is weakened through opposition by the repulsive force, the particles would appear more loosely connected, and the aggregate may give the impression of being a liquid. Eventually, the force of attraction might be weakened so much the aggregate might split apart into its particles and become a gas. In essence, the stronger the forces of attraction, the denser and heavier the aggregate becomes. From the spiritual point of view, as the repulsive force overcomes the attractive force, the bonds become weaker and lighter the aggregate becomes. And what we call heat and cold are simply the forces by which this is achieved. Too hot, and the aggregate evaporates. Too cold, and it solidifies. Although spiritually this is just one force that attracts or repulses, materially it has been developed by science into something of a nightmare. Physics. These forces have been given numerous names by physicists because materially they appear to be different. Without going into detail, physicists have called the forces the Van der Waals force, Debye forces, Keesum forces, and London dispersion forces, plus more. Wikipedia says the forces result from a transient shift in electron density. But then suddenly we come across passages like this, which are almost metaphysical. The process of conversion of a gas phase into liquid phase is called condensation. In gas, the constituent particles have very, very weak attraction between them. When the temperature of the gas is lowered, the particles come closer together. Spiritually, condensation is simply the attracting force being strongly applied, so that something appears to be more and more dense and heavy. Thankfully, scientists do not know how Dynamo the magician, born Stephen Frayne, who is around 1.68 metres, 5 foot 5 inches, and very skinny, as he has Crohn's disease, can make himself appear so heavy a weightlifter is unable to lift him. Nor do they know who taught him to levitate, the opposite, or walk on water, but he has done it several times. Let us now consider some phenomena that science, with its current model, cannot explain. Apporting. During apporting, an aggregate is split apart completely by the forces of repulsion, only to be reassembled by the forces of attraction into the same aggregate. This means that the pattern or template of the aggregate has to be preserved exactly, to every last detail and every last particle. If it is not, the aggregate will not be capable of reassembly. We have one explanatory video, but have provided a number of links to both our website and a host of guest videos that show this phenomenon exists. Substances have even appeared that are unknown to this planet, although because scientists refuse to believe the phenomenon exists, no chemical analysis has ever taken place. Animate objects, in this case birds, generally appear to be killed by the experience, although they do arrive intact, as such a transporting machine is still a dream in the filmmaker's eye. Although, if we are to believe the accounts, transfer of humans from one location to another has taken place, and they survived, though not using human technology. Firewalking. During firewalking, the bottom of the foot is subjected to a higher rate of repulsion from the ground than normal. This form of anti-gravity also repels fire. It is worth noting that Daniel Douglas-Hume, in trance, could handle hot coals through the same repellent forces. We have two videos on firewalking, one general one and an example case, that of Dr. William Tufts Brigham, who with the help of shamans walked on lava. As Dr. Tufts Brigham found out, the force generated can only be applied to the feet. It cannot be extended to one's boots. Dr. Brigham's boots were destroyed by the lava. Levitation and walking on water. During levitation, one aggregate is repulsed by another with a greater repulsive force than normal. Generally speaking, the first aggregate then rises up from the ground, the second aggregate, although the second aggregate can be water, in which case the person is said to walk on water. We have one video providing an example of levitation and two guest videos included in the description of this video. The levitation of Daniel Douglas-Hume might be classified as the most spectacular demonstration of this, as he was passed by his invisible helpers in a trance condition out of 1/3 floor window and returned to safety via another. Dynamo the magician has appeared to walk on water and levitated above the Shard in London, and none of people's very weak explanations is an explanation. Psychokinesis and poltergeist. Psychokinesis or telekinesis is usually grouped with poltergeist activity. It describes cases where an aggregate, usually inanimate, is moved without anyone touching it. There seem to be some cases of moving objects where a spirit entity is doing the moving, and Black Sabbath's Tony Iommi appeared to be a victim of one of these. But there are also other cases where a human is inadvertently the cause. Occasionally the movements can be quite violent. Matthew Manning produced quite violent cases of psychokinesis in his school. In contrast, Nina Kulagina, real name Nelia Mikhailova, generated small movements under laboratory conditions in Russia. Spoon bending. Practically all examples of the manipulation of the forces of attraction and repulsion are cases of the strong attractive force being weakened. And yet again, spoon bending describes an experience in which the attraction between molecules of the metal are temporarily loosened until the metal becomes plastic, bendy. We have one general video that explains the principles, and a second that provides an example, that of Michael Crichton. Michael received an MD from Harvard Medical School in 1969, but is best known as an American author and filmmaker. His books have sold over 200 million copies worldwide, and over a dozen have been adapted into films, one of which is Jurassic Park. Given that other metal objects can be affected, such as skis, and remotely, touching the spoon is not the method by which it is achieved, although touching helps to concentrate the opposing force. Professor John Hagdaev was able to document a number of cases of remote application of these powers, and this is Professor Hagdaev. With David Bohm, Professor of Theoretical Physics at Birkbeck College. Here with Jiddu Krishnamurti, the Indian mystic. Weather control. Weather control is a most advanced skill using the forces of attraction. And we have one video that describes the skills of Odin, the Norse god. Air, which has passed over water and thus already contains water molecules, is gradually made subject to the attractive force. Eventually, the fine mist-like water molecules are brought together until they become heavy, and then they fall as rain. Few appear to be gifted with this skill, principally because the rain has to fall in the right place and in the right quantity at the right time. Material rain, that is, not spiritual rain.